And today I would like to thank the divine Mayan Tzolk'in itself, whomever, wherever, and whatever you are. I am here to do your work, and I thank you for your continued energetic blessings and support. Greetings, dear soul. I am Crispy, and I am another you, and therefore you are Crispy too. Isn't it wonderful? Today we're talking about tone 6, which, if you know anything about Mayan embodiment, you know that I portray it technically upside down. And I will explain that fully in this video, of course. So first of all, let's take a look at where all of the tone 6 balancing days are on the Tzolk'in. There you go, the first one, Keen 6, tone 6, glyph 6, balancing death, or actually, as I like to call it, balancing reincarnation, which is pretty trippy just linguistically to take in the meaning of that. Haha! After that is balancing rainstorm, which again, nice to even think about. And here is the video about the flow of the tones. So, let's talk about the Rola Bola, shall we? That is the one distinguishing feature of Mayan embodiment that is different from every other system. First, a little background. I have been following the Mayan calendar since 1998, and I went through phases of daily religious adherence, as it were. And, then I moved to Japan in 2003 and got married and started teaching English and had babies and got my master's degree. And really, until 2009, I was barely tapping in. So from 3 to 9, didn't really tap in, except for birthdays and things. And then I began to get more interested, but it wasn't until approximately... It's so funny that I don't know exactly when this happened, but I got the massive download while meditating one day. I do believe it was in 2017, sometime in the, let's say, May or June. It wasn't quite hot yet. It was nice and warm. So yeah, sometime in there, May, end of May 2017, we'll just say. I was meditating and got this download, and then I just decided to fill my brain with everything I possibly could about the Maya, and here's a whole bunch of other books that I've read since then. And I also read the Dresden Codex, which you can get a high definition copy of right here, and you can go through it like I did. And while I was doing that, one day, I began to notice anomalies. Here you go, take a look. As you can see here, this is the normal depiction of all the tones. Horizontally with the dots on top, or vertically with the dots to the left from the viewer's position. But then, I noticed all of these anomalies, and especially that one bingo, and it just blew my mind. I got so excited. And I knew I was supposed to teach tone 6 and tone 11 like Rola Bolas, and it adds so much information to what the Maya are trying to portray with the vibration of the tone. Tone Z, 6 and 11, balancing and resolving. And let me tell you, it takes a lot of resolve to get up on a double-stacked Rola Bola, but for today, let's talk about tone 6. But Tone 11 is going to come into it, as you will see. So let's take a look at the key code words for all Tone 6 balancing days. Here you are. Flowing. Balanced family. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Joining. Stability, equilibrium, realistic, practical, organic. That's an interesting set there. Equality, synchronicity, and the sixth sense. And you might have noticed the color of indigo midnight blue, tapping into the sixth chakra. Yeah? Now, the words joining and equality come from the fact that we're dealing with the dot and the bar. It's the first time we've had tone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we have dot and bar for the first time joined. And they're equal. Even though the bar is representative of 5 and the dot is 1, they have an equality between them. Joining, equality, interesting. All right, now let's talk about balanced family. Maybe the most important thing about Tone 6. Another component of the frequency of Tone 6 is balanced family, and that is because the Maya have named 6 qualities that every family depends on for stability. Health, understanding through communication, work and money. Friendship, both within the family and the friends we have outside the family. Property and possessions of the whole family and each individual member. And number 6, positive and negative actions and choices. And wow, just with number 6, positive and negative actions and choices. Holy moly, that's a lot of data to work with for tone 6. So it's a very important tone. It is the only tone that directly connects to the family. Some of the glyphs do too. But this one tone is like, hey, check in with everybody. How y'all doing? We're good? We're good? And if not, do your best to balance things. All right, so let's move on to our first exemplars. And actually, we have no first exemplars, which would mean the next exemplars are the first. But for Kin 6, which is tone 6 and the 6th glyph, balancing reincarnation, we have no exemplars. So in a way, nobody represents 666, and for some people that's probably a good thing. However, feast your eyes on all the key code words. Now, 13 days later, we have our actual first trio of exemplars. And what a trio it is. Then 13 days later, Balancing Traveler. If you don't know who R. Gordon Wasson is, he wrote the very first article about magic mushrooms, which he went down to Oaxaca and did them with Maria Sabine, the Mayan shaman, the Mayan mushroom shaman in the 1950s, deeply influencing Timothy Leary and the man who became Ram Dass. 13 days later, one of my favorite human beings, Severn Cullis Suzuki. There she is with young Greta many years ago. 13 days later, another super powerful Canadian woman, Sharp. 13 days later, we do have some exemplars, but take a look at these high vibe code phrases first. And see if you can apply them to these three. 13 days later, an unlikely pair, but the intensity, if you know Robert Adams and his teachings, there is a very high degree of intensity there. And since Mike began to expand his thought patterns, there's definitely a holy hologram connection between them both. 13 days later, Kin 97, Dr. Hiroshi Motoyama. This man is fascinating. I only heard about him recently, and upon reading this book, I knew I had to do the audiobook of it, which you can see on my channel here. And please listen, because then you will know exactly why my mind was blown by him. 13 days later, another fascinating pair. Find your own connection between the two of them, but I promise you, they are sacred sparks of one another. 13 days later, this is a fascinating quintet. "13 days later, wow. "13 days later, we do not have a human exemplar for Kin 149. And this glyph being red is most closely associated with the physical body. Red is the element of earth, physical body. East as a direction, sunrise as a time of day. But it is also very closely connected to water and fire. So it's got those three elements connected together. One more quick look. 13 days later, the wonderful wizard of balancing breath. Interestingly enough, we have no balancing eagle exemplar, but please read these words. "13 days later, a fascinating duo. And if you would like to see the Mayan birthday of Ra Uruhu, you can do so here. And of course, I had to mention him in Richard Rudd's Mayan birthday video here. Now, I've mentioned it before, and I feel the need to mention it again, but both of those systems rely on the tropical birthday positioning of the 12-sign zodiac. So that, in my opinion, is part of the 3,000-year-old matrix, the 3D matrix that we're in. The tropical 12th house has nothing to do with the actual sky at all. It's a false division of the sky into 12 precisely equidistant segments of 30 degrees, not matching anything in the sky at all. And in addition, it's about 24 days out of step with reality anyway. So both of those systems will lock you into a 3,000-year-old 3D matrix. Sorry, not sorry. Next. Art Bell, Balancing Sunrise. And I have mentioned the power of the sunrise glyph, also called reptile or crocodile in some systems. It's a very primal energy. But art, oh boy. Right? 13 days later, we actually have no balancing jaguar shaman human exemplars, but please read along. "13 days later, feast thine eyes." Interesting story about Ken Carey's first book, The Starseed Chronicles. It happened to him, if you know the story, on December 27th, 1978, he went into a deep fever and for 3 days began to channel this information while living in a log house off the grid, no contact, and it snowed heavily, so no one left or entered the house. And December 27th, 1978 was my 10th birthday, so I don't know, maybe if you look that up on Human Designer Gene Keys, there'll be some connection. 13 days later, balancing solar chief. Now, I've shown the full profile in the center for that day, and what you'll see on the left is tone 12, called Understanding, and the glyph is Reincarnation, which the Maya just called Death. So you could say Understanding Death. And if you know anything about Danyon Brinkley, you know that he has helped at least 260 people die. Crossover, sat with them while he died. He gave that number in an interview with George Noory a couple years ago. I'm sure the number is much higher now, but I was watching him with George Noory, and he said, "I have sat with 260 people while they crossed that bridge." Look again, understanding death as his divine feminine guide. And for our last balancing keen, we again have no exemplar. Fascinating. But please enjoy reading these. So there you have it, balancing. And now I'm going to show you the other 4 tones that connect with balancing in the guiding position. So everyone who was born on tone 6 has 11. Oh, interesting. Everyone who's born on tone 6 has tone 11 resolving for their past wisdom, guiding tone. Add 1. Tone 12, understanding. Tone 13, transcending. And tone 1 for their future vision guide. Here's the profile. So that 1 dot is paired up with the bar for tone 6. That 1 dot is paired up with 2 bars for tone 11. And then that 1 dot is all alone for the future vision guide of everyone born on tone 6. Fascinating. Definitely those tones all come into what tone 6 is, actually. That's how this system works. There's nothing external to you. It all is part of one thing. So thank you very much. I hope you know your birth tone and glyph. And I know where you can find out. In Lak'esh Alakim, Namaste.